So this is one of those weird ones that come into the garage. And so let's give you a little backstory. About a month ago, I sold this computer. This was actually a case swap that I did from an HP EliteDesk. It was the 800 G1. It was an i7 4th gen. We popped in the W4100, solid state, all that good stuff. Did all the mods so we could get rid of all those errors when you boot up. And this thing ran fantastic. A good 1080p budget computer. We sold it for $300. I think I only had about 140 into it, so easily was able to double my profit. Well, the customer reaches out to me, and the good thing about this case is that this is a return customer. They've bought several computers from me in the past, and they bought this for their third kid, I think, third or fourth, I don't know. She has a bunch of kids. But anyways, she called me and says, hey, I loaned the computer, which that was kind of weird. I don't ever lend out my computer, my car, or anything, but she says I loaned a computer to a friend for her kids for about a week, and when it came back, it's not working and something is not right. I said, okay, what is it doing? She says it doesn't power on. It had a funny smell to it, which that was a red flag, and I'm not sure exactly what else is wrong with it. So I said, all right. I wasn't home, so I told him, bring him in, drop it off. We'll put it in the garage, and I'll take a look at it. So I came out today, and I went to take a look at it, and I'm taking a look, and I'm like, what in the world happened? So first off, I'm looking, and this thing is like very dusty, like lint. I mean, and I cleaned this thing pretty good. So I'm like, okay, this thing is very dusty like lint. So then, I'm just taking an initial look and appearances. And guys, one of the things I always recommend with these computers is that if you have an issue, choose carefully if you're going to turn it on and not turn it on. And we'll talk about that in just a sec. So I'm like, all right. So then I start looking at the glass, and I don't know if you guys can see it right now, but I'm like, what in the world just happened? I'm pretty sure I didn't sell these accessories. So my first red flag with this is that I remember putting 2 screws in when I sold this computer. It's only missing 1. So, all right, somebody's been in here. And when I open it up, pencil, that's a lint cloth. This looks like somebody sat this behind a dryer. I mean, it's in the fan, which that's kind of stuck over here. I mean, it's pretty bad. So then I start smelling around because she said she had a funny smell, and I smell the lint from the dryer, so it's obviously this thing's been near a dryer. But then when I get to the power supply, I start smelling at it, and you can smell the burnt action coming from this power supply. So right away, I'm not gonna mess with that power supply. We're gonna yank it out. I could smell the burnt from it, and maybe it popped, and as a protective state, we're good. It didn't back charge or do anything to the other components, so we're just gonna take that out and do something with it. So I started looking around again, and then I'm looking, and this is missing. Okay, all right, so the solid state drive is missing. So I called the customer, and I tell her, hey, this is what's going on. This thing looks like it was in a dryer or got sucked up by a dryer. And she said, yeah, they had it in their laundry room. Okay, which makes sense, probably blew some of the stuff in there. And I think the power supply got suffocated, which probably caused a short. And I told her the solid state drive is missing. When I told her that, she wasn't surprised, and she goes, I know what's going on. I'll handle it. I'll address it. So I asked her what she wanted me to do. She said, go ahead and just get me a new power supply and pop in another solid state drive. So we got a 550 RS Game 1, and we also got this Inland Professional 120 gigs. That should work fine. So she's paying for it. That's what we got. So now I got to thinking about it. Was this anything that could have been prevented? So now when you do these case swaps, a lot of the times you don't have the back IO plates because it doesn't either come with it, or sometimes you buy a motherboard, it don't come with it, and they can't swap out. Like for this HP one, there's nothing you can really do about it because it's part of the case. So I got on the old internet, did some browsing, and I got this. So now this is the back plate for it, and if you look, it's 3D printed. I was actually able to find a file, blueprint, whatever you call them, and I took this to my brother. He printed this out, and now we could pop this in here, and maybe that might help it so stuff doesn't get sucked in. I don't know if that was the cause. I've sold computers in the past without the back plates, never had an issue with one coming back because of it or seen any excessive dust, but I've also heard that it helps with the airflow, air pressure, and possibly could prevent this, especially this pencil. Somebody just kind of threw that there. Yeah, so let's take this apart. Let's pop in the SSD, and let me show you guys how well this 3D print works, and let's see if this thing is salvageable. All right, so let's get all the stuff out of here. I'm gonna vacuum it out, and we're gonna take out the motherboard, and here's why. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is pop in this IO shield that was 3D printed, see if it fits, if it works, and hopefully that should help prevent this, as long as the customer doesn't lend out their computer again. So let's get to working. Let's see if it fits. So it's not a terrible fit, but there's room for improvement. I think what I'm gonna do is, because I don't have access to the 3D printer, and the guy who does my 3D printer stuff, he's not available. I think I'm just gonna take a Dremel and just kind of open it up, because this bottom USB port is partially blocked. I'm not worried about the PS2s. Maybe I'll just kind of box this up a little bit and just kind of, yeah, I just might Dremel that out. The display port, I'm not worried about that because this has a discrete graphics card. So, but the audio looks good. The USBs over here look really good, so everything looks pretty good. So probably just Dremel this and Dremel this out right up over here, and that should look a lot better. Well, it's not the best. So the print didn't come out perfect, and that's to be expected. 3D printing is trial and error. I try to modify this the best I can, and sometimes they get a little brittle, especially around these corners, and some things broke, but it works for what I'm trying to do. And the whole point is that I wanted to limit the amount of access where people could shove things in or could suck things in. I called the customer and I told him, hey, if you give me a couple of days, I could probably make this look a lot better. She's not worried about it. She's fine with it. So we're going to run with it. I did take some measurements and notes, and I'm going to try to reprint this for another case swap I'll do. And I'll post a link down below to the file that I got on the internet, and if I'm able to modify it and kind of make it more accurate, it should work. So let's get to putting this thing back together. So Amazon strikes again. Gotta love how they delivered this power supply. I like these RS games. I use them a lot, and they're great for budget builds, and they're not bad power supplies. Never had an issue with one, but golly, I mean, really, Amazon? So much for being a Prime customer. Let's put back together, and cable management on this case, well, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and fire it up. Make sure I hit that button. All right, so for the next order of business on this, customer actually requested Windows 11, which, I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, I'll put it in. Now, this is an i7 4th gen. It doesn't have that TPM support or whatever, so kind of have to do a little behind the scenes action of trying to get it working. Pretty much it's taking some of the files from Windows 10 and Windows 11, kind of migrating them, yada yada yada. If you guys want a more in-depth guide, just comment down below. If we get enough interest, I'll actually do a how-to guide on how to get Windows 11 to work on these older machines. They work fine. I've used it in a bunch. I typically, when I build these computers, I don't sell them with Windows 11 unless the customer requests it. I haven't ran into any issues using Windows 11 on older hardware. It seems to run fine, you know, minus the normal glitches of Windows 11. So I kind of steer away from it just until it gets more stable. But if the customer wants it, we'll definitely put it in, and she's requesting it, so she can get whatever she wants. I guess she's paying for it. So we're gonna go ahead and install that. Other than that, everything else is working fine. Kind of looks better. We cleaned it up. Power supply is good to go. Put in the 120 gig solid state drive. Just kind of crazy story with this computer, and that's typically what happens in the garage. I mean, I just get these weird ones that come in, and it is what it is. Hope you guys find this video entertaining. Careful what you put your computer. Don't lend it out, and make sure you trust people if they're going to use or borrow your computer for whatever reason. So thanks for watching, and we'll see what we come up with next.